Welcome to the SuccessDay podcast. Here we talk to inspiring HR leaders about the future of HR and people technology.
What I think would make a lot of sense for any business and for doing my job is that AI is going to allow us to deeply personalize the employee experience.
Welcome at the SuccessDay podcast. I'm here with Arne-Christian, CHRO of TomTom. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Arne-Christian, can you tell us a bit about what you are doing at TomTom?
Yes, of course. I'm CHRO, so heading the people team at TomTom, which is a relatively small team. We're not a huge company. We have about 3,500 employees, and we have about 65 people in HR, anywhere from Taipei to California. But the majority of our team is in Amsterdam, and we look after our people products organization.
And we will deep dive into that in a minute. But first, I want to take a look back. You won the HR Technology Innovation Award, and that is for a reason. But can you tell us a bit about the past, on the first time you encountered what they call HR technology? What was that?
Well, that's of course, that's a trick question because I'm going to reveal how long I've been in HR. For the longest time, obviously. So the HR technology really wasn't a thing, but maybe 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I first entered HR, it were admin tools, your payroll tools, etc. And then at some point, I remember when I first walked into TomTom, we were doing our global payroll administration, but also our global HR administration on an ADP tool, which was obviously for a company with operating in 50 different countries, not fit for purpose, did not allow us to do anything. But it was there, it was functional in a sense. And at some point we acquired a on-premise HCM. We needed to do that in order to professionalize everything that we're doing. But then quite quickly in that process, actually, we moved to a cloud solution. I would say that's about 11 years ago now when we're still looking for that. And mostly actually because we realized that in order for us to offer a globally consistent people experience, but also the people experience that made sense, we needed to have accompanying technology, and that's why we moved to a in the cloud HCM for the full company.
And TomTom is obviously a technology company. Did that impact the selection process?
Well, absolutely. Actually, we moved away. The question. Sorry. Do I mention?
You can, it's freedom of speech here in Eindhoven.
Freedom of speech. So I just want to make sure that I'm not a advertising agency. Right. So we absolutely. TomTom was going through a transformation about 12, 14 years ago when we changed from a consumer electronics company to a tech company. And for us to operate as a tech company obviously had an impact on the kind of people we were recruiting and the type of talent that we needed to attract, and with that also the type of employee experience that we needed to offer. And so being a tech company really also had its impact on our customer, my employees' expectations of what they were looking for in technology, and what drove us at that time to go for this for the Workday suite that we acquired at that time. So that definitely had a big impact on our selection process.
And if you look at the implementation, are there any lessons learned at the time which you can share to people?
Well, I think it's some time ago, of course, and I think we took about 12 months for the between signing the contract with Workday and then going live. And that was fine. Obviously, there were many things that were not ready at the time. But I think one of the big lessons learned is that when we signed the contract and when we came to an agreement with Workday, we had the intention and one of our design principles that we're going to move all of our technology, all of the different software providers that we were using, we're going to replace them all with the one Workday suite. And then also in our go live, this is, again, remember some time ago, so we're taking quite a waterfall approach. So rather than go live with the basics and making sure that Workday would be operational, we try to move all of our processes to Workday in one go, and that was quite a lot to chew on, and also stood in the way of actually faster delivery. We could have been faster had we decided to merely go with the HCM suite first before to add performance management and recruitment and all the different modules that came from different vendors before.
And was the challenge then more in the change management and user adoption?
No, I don't. User adoption was fine. It's technically, the getting everything set up. Also when global benefits, for example, getting all of that set up into Workday for all the different countries that we operate in. I think that added a lot of unnecessary complexity that, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have done at that time.
So you had one go, all the functionality in one go.
We went, yes, and that was really also what our gold state is. What we said actually, so very waterfall. We defined our gold state, including full implementation of everything that needed to be in, and that made it more complex than needed.
Yeah. And then we talked about lessons learned, but if you look at, let's say, your biggest achievement at that time, or where are you most proud of what you achieved then?
Well, I think the adoption. We came from on-premise, rather antiquated technology, and we did quite well in introducing Workday to our workforce. Introduced. We had a great campaign around it. We did some marketing, internal marketing, to make sure that people would find their way and would use the app and would use the product. So I think especially the adoption side, we're quite proud of. There was not too much noise in the organization. Actually, people started using it quite intuitively, very quickly in the process.
Nice, thanks. What kind of business problems did you solve with the implementation of this technology?
Well, I think like I said, we at the time were starting to track different type of profiles, different skill sets, and we needed to have a people technology solution that would actually meet the requirements of our customers. So that was one. Second, we from that moment on, actually, and also through the years, we've achieved much greater insights into our full population and what people needed and their behaviors at work, in performance, etc. So having greater insights, so we could make some actually insights-driven decisions rather than not. Actually, that was one of the big benefits.
So if I then summarize it, in, let's say, the old days prior to modern people technology, would you be making business decisions without the data and now with the data?
Scraping by. And I think having all of our people data on one roof, and over time that has changed somewhat because we had I would say over the past 10 years we've also made decisions that we moved away from the single source of truth. As obviously Workday still is a single source of truth, but we do use different software providers for different elements of the people experience. But we do make sure that all the data points still come together, so it's all fully integrated. So that still gives us fantastic insights and to base our decisions on.
And you won the HR Technology Innovation Award last year. Was it a surprise?
So obviously, it was very flattering. And not to say, I would not consider myself someone at the forefront of HR technology. I do think that any technology that we have, whether it's in HR or in life or in business, should help you solve a particular problem. And I do think that why I won that award, or I was recognized for the work I do in the field of HR, is because I've always championed finding solutions, bespoke solutions to business problems or to people problems, and very often, always on the lookout for, good technologies supporting solutions to add to that.
Yeah, and what I do know, and correct me if I'm wrong, you also share that knowledge with others and organize, let's say, sessions or days where you with co-CHRO share that information. Can you elaborate a bit
Yeah,
on,
that's
on
what
that?
I try to do that. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
so I've been with TomTom forever, right? As long
Yeah.
as I can remember, about 18 years. And there's a big risk that if you're with a company this long, that I'm going to be too internally focused and you completely forget what's going on, and also, don't learn from whatever is going on in the outside world and from other solutions that other companies have. So a couple of years ago, we started an initiative which we call Real-Time HR. And Real-Time HR is a forum, really, or it's a place where CHROs, but HR leadership teams come together and we fall in love with problems together. So I think that's really one of my mantras, that I love falling in love with the problems. Every company in the Netherlands, but around the world, really, typically we deal with the same type of problems, whether it's talent shortage or whether it is emotional or well-being or whatever the problem might be. But very often, you yourself will have this problem in your company, as we have it at TomTom, and other companies will have the same problems. How we deal with those problems is very contextual. Because your circumstances are different, but the problems are typically the same. So the whole notion of real-time HR is that the world of work has become so complex and is moving so very fast, and actually is only now starting to move ever faster. The world of work actually today doesn't look the same as it did 3 months ago. So in the now of work, which we're going to talk about, we want to deliver real-time HR, and I think some of those problems that all of us are dealing with are too complex to kind of solve by ourselves. So we bring leadership teams together for inspiration, for problem solving, and for sharing what we do. So we organize great events. We've done it twice so far, and it's been fantastic in Amsterdam. It's an open door for anyone who wants to learn from others in HR.
Really nice. If I now want to participate, or another HR leader that is hearing this,
I don't know whether we would let you in. I haven't quite, obviously. So this is a no consultants business, because it's really, this is a real HR for HR. So we have, everybody can sign up, but everybody gets in, right? So so as long as anyone who's trying to sell professional services, HR services, or is a consultant, we can look at your application, and then if people promise not to sell anything during the event, then they can absolutely go in.
And a good bottle of wine probably helps as well.
A good bottle of wine absolutely helps. Champagne preferred.
Nice.
Just saying.
Let me sign up soon. You were just mentioning the changing work. Right? Things change, and we noticed that, for example, in consultancy, that it is more difficult to find work for junior people because technology is taking over. How would you envision it for TomTom or other companies? What's happening in the world, and what's the biggest challenge you are facing as HR leader?
It would be amiss to not talk about AI, correct? And everything is happening all at once. So not just in technological advancement. I remember about 10 years ago, we would all be talking, any HR conference you would go to, it would be about the future of work. And I don't know whether you remember, but you would go to one of those conferences and we would all be talking about 2025, which was last year. But by 2025, 70% of the workforce is going to be made up by millennials. And by 2025, we'll have a gig economy, and people will have 6 different employers at the same time, or they'll at least have 6 different employees in their careers. The role of the manager was going to change tremendously. None of us predicted the role of AI on work. Also one of the reasons why I stopped talking about the future of work, because the future of work happened in the past 3 years, I think, since the pandemic. which started to have an enormous impact on how work is being organized. But with that, also the rise of communication platforms, so whether it's through Teams or Zoom or Slack or whatever it might be, that enables work in a very different type of environment. But today, actually, with AI, large language models, agentic AI, those developments are happening, so much faster, exponentially faster than everything that happened in the past 3 years. I think, I would say in the past 18 months or so, all of us have been thinking about, AI will have a great impact, and at least true at TomTom, and I'm sure it's true in many other companies also. In the past 3 to 6 months, it's really happening. And now only do we start to understand the impact of AI, whether that is on a software engineer's job or a product manager's job or my job, or somebody in my service desk. And that impact is gigantic, but it's also continuously in flux and actually continues to evolve. And with every release of whether it's any of the software development, the coding, agentic coding tools, and Anthropic or whatever might be coming out, continues to evolve in a very rapid space.
And that I see happening, and I do agree. 2 years ago, I was talking about the next big thing, bigger than the internet, and there it stopped. And now we see really practical developments in companies. Is there anything, looking at AI, what you in your HR team or at TomTom actually are doing with pragmatic results?
Yeah, well, with pragmatic results, let's say, all of a sudden that question is no longer so easy, right? No. So together with my leadership team, we actually did an inventory of how many people in our team are currently working on something AI. And we came to about 11 or 12 out of our 65, right? And they spent their full week looking at what kind of agentic solutions could we introduce into our service processes, for example, or what kind of agentic solutions can we introduce into our talent acquisition process, or even in employee relations. And some of it is live. Actually, this week or last week, we went live with our first company-wide employee-facing service agent, and we're going to looking at what the results of that is going to be. But at the same time, also many of those other people in the team are also working on what is bigger than in HR, the AI transformation in the company. TomTom aims to be an AI native company. It's hard to do because we're 30 years old, so obviously becoming AI native means that we fully need to redesign and reinvent all of our processes and product development, etc., to be AI native, and we're doing the same thing in HR. One of my objectives for this year is to change our learning product. And so in our people team, we operate, we think in products. So we have a learning product, which is everything that our customers, TomTom employees, get their hands on when it comes to learning, whether it's off-the-shelf learning, online learning, classroom learning, executive development, and whatever, and on-the-job learning. We want to make that learning product fully AI native. So what we're doing is we set up a clean room, and a clean room is kind of where we scrap everything that we have. So we ignore all of the processes that we currently have in learning. We keep them going, obviously, because that product still needs to make it into the hands of customers. But at the same time, we are developing or re-engineering our learning product from the ground up, and with the use of AI, so that becomes an AI native product. And that's one of my objectives for this year, is to replace the existing learning product with the new learning product that has been built entirely using AI.
And you do that in a sort of separate lab to just not be involved in the current state.
We leave the current organization as it is, and with everything that we have going on, and obviously you can imagine in learning we have plenty going on, including upskilling and reskilling of our entire workforce around the globe, also in light of AI. But in parallel, we're recreating this learning product from the ground up using AI.
Is there already some things you can share, or is it too early?
No, it's too early. It's too early. It is and it's not a mean feat. It's not a very easy exercise because it's also entirely a mindset change. Because obviously, there's a big risk that we still can go back to whatever we currently have, even when we're designing something new. There's a risk that we're going to, first thing, let's design the same using AI rather than what is the problem that learning product actually solves. So and which would much be more around the full skill set and the learning agility of the company and then all the employees in it. And how might we still achieve that? And then build a product around that rather than mimic whatever we have today and try to make that AI native.
Thanks. If you look at your career and then always in combination with technology, what are you most proud of?
Well, I think that's a tough question, Bas.
It was not on the card, sorry.
It was not. Yeah, I'm looking at your cards. Why? I didn't see that coming. Well, I think I know that I'm most proud of creating a people organization, and that is fully in sync with the company. So obviously, as you can imagine, the company I work for, we're all about reinvention. We're all about transformation, and the markets that we operate in develop so very quickly. And what I needed to do is create a way of working in our people team and make sure that the people organization truly supports everything that we do in the business, if you will. And with that become an integral part of the organization. And I think through our approach with real-time HR and making sure that we focus on real business problems and real people problems rather than falling in love with the solution, I believe that we've achieved that. Then the technology element of that, technology is always there because one of our design principles in everything that we do in our people team is that whatever solution, whatever product we bring to our customers must be scalable. And technology is always needed there must be scalable, and it must be, any decision that we make must be supported by evidence. And the evidence is typically through the insights that we have. And with that, also technology and data management plays a very important part in that. And I'm quite pleased that with that, we continue to address real business problems.
Yeah, that stands out, right? You're continuously not talking only about technology, but really to solve the business problems. And that's, I think, what's all about. Now let's dream a bit. If you look at the future, we talked a bit already about AI, but where do you think it's going in combination of people, technology, in any business?
It's hard to say, right? It's hard to dream because I must say that I couldn't have imagined how far technology would have evolved over the past year. So purely, I don't know what your experience is, but purely as a user of AI myself, I'm amazed with what it can do, and I'm amazed also at the pace at which it learns. So for me, it's going to I try to stay abreast of what's going on in the market, if you will, but at the same time I also need to always be led by how fast these developments are going. But if I would dream out loud, what I think would make a lot of sense for any business and for doing my job is that AI is going to allow us to deeply personalize the employee experience. And I think that is ultimately with that, also, of course, every TomTom employee is also a consumer in their own right. They have consumer-grade expectations for the workplace. And typically, HR technology has not offered a consumer-grade type of experience. Even with all the solutions that we've had in the market for the past 10 years, it's always still a bit clunky. And I really think that through AI, we can finally offer a consumer-grade type of experience in the whole employee life cycle.
Thanks. My next question, and maybe you already answered it, was what if you ask any vendor what problem should they solve? But is it then making a consumer-like experience? Is that
I remember a long time ago when we actually first started. In our initial discussions with Workday and with other parties when we were sourcing a partnership for an HCM. I was kind of painting this picture of a Spotify type of environment for employees. I would really, I would refer to it as, the employee galaxy. I had fallen in love with the notion that what I wanted to offer TomTomers is when they would come into our ecosystem, that kind of see everything about them. I was already, aiming for a high level of personalization, right? So you come in, you're going to be a software engineer, and you have specific interest, and there's specific requirements for your job and skills that are required for your job. And you're here and imagine yourself in this galaxy, and everything you see around you is about you, right? It's about the skills that you need. It's about the skills. If your career ambition is to become a software engineering manager, then you can see that career path quite far away, and then further away, even you would see the role of a CTO, and then everything that you needed to do there. You might also be interested in reading about this because you also have a interest in this, and you're expecting, and because you're expecting, this is everything that I'd really love that HR technology to revolve around the employee rather than around the HR processes, and that was what I was pitching to all those companies many years ago. And slowly but surely, you see that we're getting to that state. And and it's always been my number one ask, also to Workday, but any other party, show me a world where indeed the employee experience for, so at least on the customer side, so the employee side, makes them feel that this is an experience that's actually built around you and not around the HR process that you need to go through.
Thanks. In line with that, I was talking to some CHROs, and we're talking about AI, of course, and the developments around that. Some CHROs think that, believe that AI and the involvement of agents is an HR responsibility. So HR will move to an organization that makes processes and manages, to a certain extent, the human resources, but also agents. Others say, no, this is IT. Do you have an opinion around this subject?
And then you mean for HR process specifically, or the AI transformation in the company?
Yeah,
overall?
the AI transformation as a whole.
So of course, there've been interesting publications, both in the Harvard Business Review and others, is that in modern day business, the CHRO and the CTO role might be one and the same, we could argue. I'm not of that. So in the leadership team I operate in, we actually have, obviously, it's all about the AI transformation, but as a company-wide transformation, I don't think that should be with one single owner. I think it's a responsibility of the full leadership team. And I think specifically when it comes to product development, I mean, technology is also our business, right? That's our product. Is a technology product, and I really think that the architecture thereof, but mostly also the product management. So what problem are we solving for our customers, automotive industry or enterprise customers? That is still very much an engineering and product management problem to solve. However, how we then ultimately build those products, yes, that is a shared combination, or shared responsibility for everyone in the leadership team, because there are consequences on people's side, but on the financial side, on the technology side. And so I'm not in favor of a black or white single point of failure type of ownership. I'd rather consider that to be a full board responsibility.
Some mutual responsibility. Before I go to all the cards I have here, is there anything I should have asked you which I didn't until now?
Who does my hair? I do it myself.
Me too.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Well, I don't know, Bas. What should you? Is there anything you forgot to ask me?
I was also thinking about data and metrics. What are for you the most important metrics you want to know as an HR leader, and why?
Yeah. So I love data, and what we use, and which is a live conversation in the board also. So this is beyond the people team, and we call it organizational health. But we measure organizational health by ways of a set of data points that we measure in real time, and it's about many different things that ultimately contribute to a healthy organization, yes or no. And this is also how I track, how we're doing on all the different business units and all the different locations, and all the different and I think there are about 15 or 16 data points, and obviously we can go deeper in one if we detach a problem with one of those data points, and some simple stats like turnover or regrettable turnover, but also engagement, turnover in combination with office attendance or
you measure that?
Yes. Fulfillment rate, so how many, was maximum capacity, was organizational effectiveness, how many vacancies do we have relative to the total number of positions, long-term illness, diversity statistics. And so it's a combination really of all of the above, and then we measure as a aggregate outcome of all of that organizational health. And so we have quite an advanced methodology to make sure that we don't steer on one-dimensional data points only. For example, if I would steer on employee turnover, voluntary turnover, and that would be for me a trigger to identify a problem. Only that, and I look at a certain country, and in that country, voluntary turnover is 6%. And I say, well, there's nothing going on. It's a very healthy organization because it's a healthy turnover number. I look at, what is turnover with other companies in their specific countries, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not doing so bad, not a problem to solve. However, if I have more advanced insights, as in how does that turnover relate to office attendance or to engagement, and how does it relate to the gender mix, or how does it relate to our growth score? We measure buy versus build, so how many people get promoted and how many people do we recruit externally at which level in the company. And then I can actually detect, hey, I have a problem because, turnover may be low, but actually engagement is also low. And actually, if I think about it, or I start digging deeper, we also notice that turnover might be low on average, but actually in grades 17 and 18, which is like our mid-management layer, turnover is considerably higher than in other locations, or whatever it might be. So we use that quite advanced way of applying analytics to really detect problems in the company. And
this is something you developed yourself, picking the metric points, and I like the one on turnover and office attendance. It's always difficult to have that discussion, but I do see the same. If people don't often come to the office, we also see that they tend to leave the company earlier.
Well, yes, and obviously, and in our engagement surveys, of course, then we also, we ask people about whether or not they feel connected to the company, whether they have confidence in the company's purpose, and whether they feel they contribute to the purpose. Do they have confidence in the future of the company? And then when we start linking that to, do people actually attend? So how do they view team collaboration, and do people effectively work? But also then co-location comes into play. So also part of that organizational health is also co-location. So how we're a heavily distributed company, so we're still in about 30 different countries, and we have quite some teams, engineering teams, also my teams, where we have loaners in some offices, right? So I have someone on the West Coast, so she's on a 9-hour time difference from the rest of HR, and that's quite hard to do, right? So so it's incredibly important that first of all, I realize that, but also continue to measure whether things are okay and whether the fact that we're a distributed team does not have a negative impact on either turnover or engagement, and with that on continuity.
And if I summarize correct, please again correct me if I'm wrong. You're not looking at single data points of one metric, but you're
Absolutely.
really connecting them together and then finding.
As I said, typically if I look at single one-dimensional data points, it paints a wrong picture. And it does not give me the whole story. And in order for me, and I just said, one of our design principles in our product-led organization is that we must find the evidence why a specific product or service is going to solve an actual problem. And I can only find that evidence with extensive data mining and data analytics, and not with, I'm going to press this button and then turnover is miraculously going to go down or up or wherever I want it to be. So it needs to be on a much more advanced level that we find the evidence for the decisions that we're making.
Another question: when would you say no to a technology investment?
Oh, I've said no to many technology investments, and it always comes down to the same reason why. Technology for the sake of technology is a no-go. And I don't know whether you ever go, but each year or once every 2 years, I go to Unleash, the event in Paris or any of their other. And then, of course, you have all those vendors together, and also they have their startup camp or startup boot camp or whatever they would call it. And we're all new technology companies. Everybody who's invented an app or has come up with the next big thing is pitching their ideas. And it's hard to be shopping around where you don't have a problem to solve. So it's also hard to buy something when whatever is presented to you, it's a bit unclear what particular business problem this new app or whatever the piece of technology might be, whatever is going to solve for me. And it's really quite weird. As I'm all for having great tech to help me solve a problem, I'm not so much for great tech because it's great tech. And so it's always hard to find that match between which company out there or which tech provider actually, even before I said anything about what my problems are, can anticipate that and can truly understand as skilled the business landscape and understand what type of problems businesses are solving for these days. So you can actually build technology around that. And I've had pitches, companies coming to TomTom or at Unleash or any other occasion where I've been pitched fantastic technology solutions, but where it was entirely unclear to me if I would, buy this solution, how my world's going to be considerably better post that. On the flip side, of course, finding a partner that truly takes the time to understand what business problems we're encountering and what kind of problems we're trying to solve every day, and what kind of challenges we might have with our employees, and what's going to truly address employee needs, and is also going to address those business problems. Obviously, this is when we really want to build true partnerships with those tech vendors, and change them from vendors into partners quite quickly.
Thanks. And you are also this year participating as a jury member in the HR Technology Awards. What would you hope that the people will bring to that?
I'm pretty sure yes, my first time in the jury. Very excited. Also, first of all, I'm very much looking forward to the pitches and to the initial selection rounds. Really keen to understand what's going on in the marketplace, and also want to make my own assessment, as in do people actually, those younger companies that are trying to pitch their solutions, do they really start with a problem first, and do they really try to empathize with their potential customers, as in this is what companies need today at scale, and this is effectively going to solve or help them solve some of those business problems. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. I'm also very happy to coach those startups into you should really approach it more from a business problem point of view. You should really try to think about the value that you're going to create for your customer before you start pitching whatever kind of solution you have yourself fallen in love with. And I think is going to be the best invention since sliced bread, right? So so that's what I'm really hoping for, and very curious to see how those startups deal with that.
Thanks for joining this podcast, Arne-Christian. And if you want to know more about HR technology and people technology, please go to our website.